Okay, this is lecture 1, and we do some basics of statistics in lecture 1, and we start with the definitions of data, statistics, population, sample, parameter, and statistics. So what is the data, and what is statistics, and what are these population, sample, and parameter and statistics? So we discuss these things today. So data is any information obtained from observation, counts, or measurement, or something, some process. By some process we get some information from somewhere, so that information is called data. It can be a number, it can be some other description, or some other items that we collect, that we get to study, to get some observations, to get some conclusions, to do some research, so that information is called data. So the definition is any information obtained from observations, counts, measurement, or response is called data. Statistics is the process of collecting the data, organizing and analyzing, and getting some interpretation, getting some conclusion from the data. That process is called statistics. So this is the process, this is the science of collecting, organizing, analyzing, and interpreting data in order to make some decisions. It's called statistics. So statistics is the process of collecting, organizing the data, and then analyzing the data, and then interpreting the data, and then make some decision. So this whole process is statistics. Okay, population is the whole thing in the data. So what is the subject of study? So the whole thing related to the subject is called the population. For example, if we do research on Lane College students grade, then all students from Lane College, that is the population, because we are interested in all students from Lane College, right? So that whole object, the complete object which is under the study, is called population. And sample is a part of population. So population is the whole thing related to any observation or any research. So let's see. So let's write the definition. The population is the collection of all outcomes. The collection of all outcomes, response, measurement measurements or counts that are of interest is called a population. So this is a complete set. This is a complete set of people or things which are being studied. So a complete set of people or things which are being studied is called a population. Okay, sample is a part of population. This is a subset or a part of the population. Is called a sample. Okay, sometimes it is hard to get all population in our data, include everything is kind of difficult. So in that case, we get the sample and we study the sample. Okay, so sample is a part of population. Is a subset, that is called a subset. The parameter is the number representing population. Any number or any measurement that represents the population is called parameter. And statistic is sample. So any number representing sample is called statistic. So the parameter is a specific number describing the measurable characteristic. The measurable characteristics, MEASUR, measurable characteristic of population. A specific number describing the measurable characteristics of population is called a parameter. So measurable characteristic is, it can be anything that we can measure, right? So height we can measure, weight we can measure, grades we can measure, percentage we can measure. So any number that describes the population is called population parameter. We can say parameter, or you can say population parameter. These are same, population parameter or parameter. You can say either way, but that is the number describing the population. Sample is any specific number describing the measurable characteristic of sample is called statistic. So a specific number describing the measurable characteristic of a sample is called statistic, or you can say sample statistic. sample statistic. Okay, so this statistics is the whole process of getting, like, this is the course, statistics course, but this statistic is sample statistic. This is the term that we use to represent the number which describes the sample. Okay, so these two are like different because this represents the number and this represents the whole thing in statistics. Okay, so we got these definitions: data, statistics, population, sample, and parameter in statistic. Now this question is identify the population, sample, population parameter, sample statistics for the following statement. So this statement is given. And we find out the population, what are the population, sample, and statistic, a parameter, and those things from this statement. Okay, so let's see, we need to find out the population and sample, population parameter, and sample statistic for these questions. If 1000 students at local college were asked whether they voted in the last election, 77% said yes. Okay, so here 1000 students were asked whether they voted or not from the local college, right? So they didn't ask everybody, they asked only these 1000 students. So they choose 1000 students and ask, and 77% from 1000 students said yes, right? So here the population is all students from the local college. So because population includes everything, right? So all students from the local college, that is the interest, subject of interest. Like, we want to get the information from all students, but it was hard to get all students, so they choose 1000 students. And when they choose 1000 students, they get the sample, right? So this 1000 student is the sample. And what is the population? Population is all students from the local college. So population is all students at the local college. And the sample is those 1000 students who were selected. 1000 students who were asked, who were selected and asked, right? Okay, so what is this number represent? So 77% is this 77% from all students, or the 77% is from 1000 students who were selected? So they asked 1000 students and 77% said yes. So that means the 77% is from 1000 students. So 77% from 1000 students said yes. So this represents the sample, because this is the number that describes the sample. It doesn't describe the whole population, right? So this is sample statistic. Sample statistic is 77%, and the population parameter is not given. Because we don't have other information, we don't have any other percentage or some average or something that represent the whole population of that college. So no information given, so not given. Okay, so population parameter not given. Okay, now the next question is 77% of all students at local college voted in the last election. Okay, so this is different question from this one. Okay, so there is no relation in these two. So this is a different question and this is separate question, so no relation. Okay, so now this says that 77% of all students at local college voted in the last election. So here again the population is all students from the local college this is the population. Sample is not given. See here we don't have anything like they choose this many students from, like here we had 1000 students were asked, they select 1000 students and asked, but here we don't have anything like that. It just said 77% of all students at local college bought it. So there is no information of sample, so sample is not given. And this 77% is from all students, right? So this is the population parameter. Is 77%. And the sample statistics is not given because we don't have other number. Okay, so not given. Okay, so we had only two things given in this question. 77% was given and all students at local college was given, right? So we didn't have other information. So we don't have the sample and we don't have the sample statistics. Okay, so here both sample and sample statistics are not given. But some other questions we may have sample but not sample statistics, or sometimes sample statistics will be given but sample will not be given, sometimes both will be given. So there is not like if sample is not given then sample statistics will not be given. It is not like that. Okay, so we can have sample but no sample statistics, or we can have sample statistics but we can't have sample sometimes. So it depends on what question you have and what information given. Okay, so it is not like sample is not given then sample statistics will not be given. It is not like that. Okay, now this question is let's say number 3 is the average number of hours the students in statistics class study per week is 10. So average number of hours the students in statistics class study per week is 10. So the population is here. So what is the population? Population is all students from that statistics class. Okay, not all students from that college, because we don't need all students from college. We need students from statistics class because that is the subject. Okay, that is the subject of study. Right, so subject of study means that is the interest of our data. So we are interested in only students from statistics class. We are not interested in all students of the local college or that college. So the population is all students from statistics class. All students from statistics class. Okay, sample is not given because we don't have any specific any part of these numbers or something. This is not given. 10 is the average number of hours that students in statistics, for all students the average is 10. So population parameter is 10 and sample statistic is not given for this question also. Sample statistics is not given. Okay, all right, now let's see the question 4. In 1960 A poll of 2617 homeowners in the United States result in a report that the average price of house in the United States was 18,500. Okay, so this is the date. 1960 is the date, so we don't have to do anything with the date. So that is not the sample or sample statistics or nothing. So this is just the date. Okay, so we don't have to do anything with 1960. They choose 2617 homeowners in the United States. Okay, and then they did some report and they did some observations, and then they reported that the average price of house in the United States, so average price of all house in the United States, not only those houses, all house in the United States was this. So here the population is all US homeowners. This is the population. Sample is 2617 homeowner who were selected, right? Okay, now we have this number 18,500. See, 18,500 is the average price of house in the United States. So they selected this many house on homeowners, and then they did some observation, and then finally they concluded that the average house of United States as a whole, like a complete United States house average price is this. They made that decision, that they made that interpretation. Okay, so they didn't say that the average price of house of only these house. They didn't say that. They said that the average price, they collected these informations, they collected only these house owners, and they got the samples from them, and then they made the decision, and they made a conclusion that okay, so all houses in the United States, the average is this. So this represent all houses in the United States, because here it says the average price of house in the United States was this. So this is population parameter. Is $18,500, and the sample statistics is not given. So here it doesn't give what was the average price or what was the price of these houses. It is not given. So they choose these houses, and then they made a decision. They got the sample and they did some report, and then they reported at the end they reported that the average house price was this in the United States. So sample statistics is not given. Okay, so this is a little like bit confusing, and so be careful that this is the average price of all house in the United States, not the sample houses. Number 5 is Fit and Healthy magazine survey 1689 people. The resulting report stated that an estimated 56% of the US population is self-conscious about their weight. Population is all US population. Sample is 1689 people who were surveyed, because they survey this many people, right? And then the resulting report state that estimated 56% of US population is self-conscious. So population parameter is 56%, and sample statistic not given. Okay, so that's how we figure out the population, sample statistic, and population parameter. Okay, so let's go to the next page. Now this page is the sampling method, common sampling method. So how to get the sample, how can we get the sample, how to collect the sample from any source or from any data. If there is a big population, sometimes we can't get all populations, and we need to we need to get some sample, and we need to get some conclusion based on that sample. Just like we had the house owner of United States, it was not possible to get all homeowner from United States, so they get some sample, and they make the decision based on that sample. Right? So how to get the sampling from a source or from a data? How to collect the sample? So common sampling methods, there are 4 methods to get the sample. Simple random sampling is we randomly choose the data. So from the data, we randomly choose the numbers. Okay. So like here, you see the computer randomly selects the numbers. So that is random data, simple random sample. Systematic sample is first put the sample in order and then choose every kth, like every fifth or every third or every 10th or every second, like that type of number you choose. Like you choose every fifth, then you first put the data in order and then you choose 5th, 10th, 15th, 20th, 25th and 30th, and those numbers you pick those numbers, you choose those numbers. That is called the systematic sampling. So we pick every kth number to make a sample. Like here they choose every third, right? So see, the first, second and third was chosen, and then you again third, and then again third. So they choose every third member or every third number, and then they get the sample. So they choose this one, and then this one, and then this one, and they make a sample. So that small sample is that sampling method is systematic sampling. So simple random sample is you randomly choose the sample, and systematic sampling is you choose every number, every kth number, like we say kth, every nth item. Okay, so that is systematic sampling. Convenience sampling is pick whatever you think is easy for you. Choose the sample whatever the way you like, right? So for example, if I want to get a sample, let's say I want to get a sample from all students from the college. I want to get a sample that about their midterm grade. Okay, so I don't want to go out and ask everybody or get some random sample or something. I'll just ask to the students who are in my class, because that is easy way to collect the data for me, right? So I don't go anywhere. I don't do any specific thing. I just ask to the students from my class, because it is easy way to get the sample. So if you collect the sample in that way, then this is called a convenience sampling. Okay, so like see here, the lady asking to someone who passes by her house, hey, do you support the death penalty? So she's getting sample from anyone who is passing by her house. So she doesn't care if her data is good or bad, but she just asks to the person who passes by her house. This is for her easy to get easy sample. So this is convenience sampling method. And stratified sampling is we first we first make the whole thing into several group, make the whole thing into several groups of similar kind, such as male, female, and then pick randomly from each group. So you first make the group and then you choose from that group. So like they select the person in male, female, they make two groups and then they randomly select some female and randomly select some boys, some male, and then they get the sample. So stratified sampling is first make the group and then you choose randomly. Okay, random sample is you choose randomly from the beginning. But stratified is first you make the groups. Like you divide into 2 groups or 3 groups or 4 group, and then you choose from each group. So that way collecting sample is stratified sampling. All right. Now this question is here, find appropriate sampling method for the statistics study. You are conducting a survey of students in a dormitory. You choose sample by knocking on the door of every 10th room. So every 10th room is systematic sampling. Systematic sampling. Okay. To survey opinion on proposed new water line, a research firm randomly draws the address of 150 homeowner from a public list of homeowners. So the randomly selects these many homeowners. So this is simple random sample. Simple random sampling. A politician wants to survey his constitution on key issues. He is not concerned with finding a representative sample and wishes to get the result as quickly as possible. So he wants to get a sample as quickly as possible, and he doesn't care if the sample is a representative sample. So this is a type of convenience sampling. So he will be asking someone who works in his office and get the sample as quickly as possible. So this is convenience sampling. A soda bottle company wants to randomly test 10 bottles from each of its 20 machines to ensure the product meets quality. Okay, so that company has 20 machines. So this is machine 1 and machine 2, machine 3. So like that it has 20 machines. Okay, so these are the machines, and they produce glasses, and then they choose from these. So see, these are already the groups. So these 20 machines are groups. Okay, so these are the groups, and from these groups they choose. Now they choose, right? So they choose from each group, right? So this is stratified sampling technique. Stratified sampling. So they make the group and then they choose the sampling. Okay, so this is how we get the sampling. So we did population sample and data, population parameters, sample statistics, and sampling method for this lecture. In the second lecture, we discuss about the data and types of data. So this was for the first lecture. Okay, I'll see you in the second video. Thank you.